Hi, everybody. It's Nadine. Thanks for joining me today. If you're able to make it, if not, I'm happy if you're watching the replay. So if you will, in the comments, if you'll type in your name and where you teach and what you teach, that will be nice for me to at least go back and take a look at. I put a link in the comments that's going to go directly out to, the presentation if you guys are interested. Because we just have a short amount of time today to be able to do this PD, I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. So let me get going with sharing my screen here. All right. So again, here's a link to the presentation. So I'm going to be talking about different ways that you can use. Now, I know I'm going to probably offend some people, but I call it a GIF instead of a GIF. You know, it's not a big deal. You know, you can use either or. So that's why I tried to do this little animation here. But it's basically that I'm going to give you ways to show how you can create animated GIFs and also how you can integrate them in the classroom. So I'm going to hopefully give you guys several ideas. So the first one that you see on here was actually created with tall tweets. So I'm going to hop right to that slide and I'm going to start talking about tall tweets, and then I'm going to actually demonstrate how to use tall tweets. So what I love about tall tweets is that it actually takes a Google Slides presentation and it turns the Google Slides presentation into an animated GIF. So I have one example. So this is kind of my promo slide to get ready for the PD today. So I have a separate slide deck that each week, whenever I'm trying to promote what I'm doing with my PD on Mondays, I just have that in a slide deck and then I put that into Tall Tweets and then it generates this animated GIF. But let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new tab and I'm going to put in Tall Tweets, and it's just talltweets.com. So inside of here on this, I know they have right here where it says just launched, and you can use their Creator Studio to be able to turn something into an animated GIF. I will tell you that I've found it to be glitchy. So rather than using that method, I still go back to the Tall Tweets Classic. And the getting started, I actually have linked on the slides that I showed you guys. So to get started with this, I'm going to hit select presentation. So in this, it opens up any Google slide deck that you have made. All right. So if I wanted to do an animated GIF of the presentation that I have right now, I just tap on it and hit select. And then it's going to load the presentation. Depending upon the number of slides that you have, then that's going to determine how long that it's going to take to load. But it shouldn't take too terribly long. When it pops up, it's going to give you some different options, and it's going to ask you like, how big do you want the animated GIF to be? And so I'll go over that process. While this is loading, I do want to show you, oh, there we go. We'll go ahead and do it now. While this is loading, so notice on here, it just shows me the first slide. So you're going to see over to this side where it asks like, how big do you want your GIF to be? And I typically do mine 3,800. Okay, then the slide duration. Now this depends upon how fast that you want it to cycle through the slides. If I want the person to be able to take a look at it and spend longer with finding it, then I usually do it for about 3 seconds. If it's something that I want to go really quick, you could do 1 second. You could even do like a 0.5. You can go that fast. But just to give you an idea, I'm going to go ahead and do it every 1 second. Now it says sequence of slides, and I typically just leave that part alone. So I'm going to hit create GIF, and then we'll see it load here. So now you're going to see that it's cycling through my presentation, but that is pretty fast, right? So again, you guys can adjust it. I want to show you the steps of how you get something from Tall Tweets here and how you get it back into Google Slides, or, once you've turned it into an animated GIF, there's lots of different places that you can put it. So the first thing I do is I save it. So it's going to be downloading that to my Chromebook. Now I'm going to come back to the presentation, and let's say that I wanted to add it onto this slide. So here's the important part. When I go to Insert and I go to Image, I'm then going to select Upload from Computer. Okay? When I select Upload from Computer, I can then go into my Recent, and it's going to pull up my file. See where it says Download and GIF. So when I hit Open, now it's going to go on top of that slide. Now, when I have done this, like last night, I told all of our teachers that I was going to be offering this virtual PD. I'll add that inside of an email, because then rather than me like giving them a link to a presentation or having a static slide, I felt like that it was better because they could get a good snapshot of what's going on. So that's kind of Tall Tweets in a nutshell. But now I kind of want to talk about, once you get used to using Tall Tweets, how you can then come up with different ideas of how to use it. So one idea that I've seen people using on Twitter is, what about if you're working on sight words? Even if it was like CVC words, or it could even be phrases, you could actually layer that in Google Slides. And then the nice part is that you could have something else going on your slide, but this could be cycling through. Now, if you tap on this image, it's actually going to take you out to the template that I made. So that way you can see this process. So when I did the sight word template, I just literally put one letter on each slide as I went through. And then on here at the last part, I put that slide on there 3 times because I wanted it to be longer. So again, you can adjust how you want this to appear. Now, when I've mentioned this to some of my primary teachers, we even talked about some other ideas as well. Really, any teacher, let's say you have like a quick math review, or maybe it's a bell ringer or something, and you wanted to review math facts. I know like our district uses Everyday Math, and we use the fact triangles. Well, what if you had, for when students are getting ready to start their math lesson, you have the math facts that are scrolling through. Now, I'm sure you might be thinking, well, I could already do that in PowerPoint, or I could do it in Google Slides. What's the advantage to this? The nice part about this is that it's inside of the slide, and I don't have this as the only thing that's appearing. Maybe you want to tell them all the materials that they need to have out for math during that class period, and you can have this scrolling through. So that's what I really like about this idea. Another idea where I've seen this used is listening to my primary teachers. They were saying, oh my gosh, when my kindergartners are coming in the morning, there's like 4 things that we tell them to do when they walk in the door. And they said, we could still have like a good morning slide, and we could actually do this in pictures and slow it down so that way they have plenty of time to see it. But it's going to cycle through and continuously show that little kid, here are the 4 things that you need to do. Okay. Another way that I have used Tall Tweets, I actually have a link. So this was a previous lesson that I used to do eons ago when I was still in the classroom. I was teaching 4th grade, and I taught the lattice method as part of our everyday math instruction. If you want to see the full lesson, which I'm going to pull up in just a minute, if you tap on this image or the other one, it'll take you out to the lessons that I'm doing. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the lattice presentation. So this was the lesson that I did. And I was going over the concepts. Now, here's where I want to talk about how I remixed this lesson. So back in the day when I originally made this lesson, it was like this ginormous PowerPoint presentation. And I remember taking my students a long time ago to the computer lab, and I would have the kids watch the slides and watch the steps. And then as it was going through, they would work problems. And when I went in to do a model lesson this year, I thought, now how can I do this that's updated the technology rather than just having a presentation? So what I did was I took those slide decks and I took certain slides, and then I put it into tall tweets. So rather than a kid having to click through as much, they could simply just watch the GIFs that are appearing on here. And I asked students whenever I went in to do the model lesson, I said, did you like this idea? And a lot of them said, yes, I did. And I even added some audio instructions so that way they would know. So as the process continues, they're watching through all of the steps to see how to do it. So that way it'll cycle through. So if they need to keep watching it. Now, when it got to their turn, then I actually used Screencastify, where because it was way too many slides to try to chunk and put that into tall tweets. So I told them, do this multiplication problem, and then you're going to see all of the steps cycle through. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show different ways that you guys can use, tall tweets. I think it's like an untapped potential. Just using it for a promo slide is one thing, but I want teachers to think about how they can use that process to integrate into their instruction. And I know I'm demonstrating all of this inside of Google Slides, but I want to make it clear, anywhere that you can add an image, you can add a GIF. So all these different sites and places, you just may not know the process of how to insert it. Before I move on to the next one, I'm going to show you over here. Last week, I made a document that was for my teachers that are Canvas users, and it's just a Google Doc. But I wanted to liven it up a little bit, so I went ahead and I added animated GIFs in here. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, that's not from Tall Tweets. Where did you get that? We'll be talking about the Giphy Chrome extension in a little bit, and I love the Giphy Chrome extension because it's easy to add anywhere. And I know I'm highlighting Canvas here. There's, again, email, Canvas, whatever LMS that you use, any kind of document, you can go ahead and add an animated GIF. Okay. All right. So the next site that I'm going to talk about is, and then I was like, I wish they had a better name for this, but they don't. So I would get teachers asking me all the time. They would say, all right, I want a site that I could create an animated GIF using my Chromebook. If I wanted to be able to demonstrate something and it had me in it, how can I do that? So luckily this site exists, and then I was like, so I'll go ahead and open it up. So it's real simple, and it's not just for a Chromebook, it's anything that has access to a webcam. So once I'm on the site, you're gonna hit, I wanna make a GIF, and I've already accepted my camera, so that's why mine's working fine already. So it tells me that I can record. So it's gonna count me down. And then it's going to add in there what I want. Okay. Now, the cool part of this is that it even has some other editing tools and so on that are in here. Okay. So I can reverse it if I want. Of course, I didn't do anything fancy, so it's not going to look all fabulous. If I don't like it, see where it said, that I can start over. But when I'm done, I can hit save. Okay. So it's saving it on there. And then honestly, and rather than having to go into something else, I can actually do a 2-finger touch on a Chromebook or a right click if I have a mouse. And I can go back into here in the save image as, and I can give it a better name than a bunch of garbly goop. So I can put me.gif. All right. So now if I want to come back here and I want to add that in, then this process again is going to be insert, image, and upload from computer because I downloaded it. Remember that? Okay. So again, I'm going to go back to my recent and I'm going to double tap that and there I am. Okay. Now, again, you might be thinking, why in the world would I want to use this? It's going to ramp up the engagement. So if you have another slide and you're giving instructions, you could be pointing to the important parts of things that you want kids to do. You could even show them, the capabilities of being able to create a GIF. Now, I know they're going to love this. I went out to several of my elementary schools and I did this as a PD and I was showing teachers how to add it. And of course, I can think of ideas of how to use it, but then once I show them, then it looks even better. So I'm going to highlight some of the folks that did a great job. I was playing around at our central office, and if you have just a short saying that you want people to see, that's why I just wrote that on there. We were having a problem with Canvas that day, and I was like, we got this. Like, it's going to be fine. The teacher next to me, she normally doesn't have that giant stack of money. She was collecting field trip money, and she thought, oh my gosh, I know what I'm going to do. And so then she wanted to give like the money. And then she even reversed it whenever she was playing around with it too. If you have common signals that you're telling your class, then that would be great if you have that on there. Okay. And I have some of my teachers that have been teaching for quite a while. And of course, they love it too. I mean, everybody loves that option. One challenge that I had put out there before we all had to close down, with the coronavirus, I had some teachers that were saying, oh my gosh, how cool would this be if you did like a Brady Bunch effect where you worked with your team and you had everybody looking a certain way. So I look forward to that because I know several of them were channeling that idea. While we're on this, I'm going to demonstrate something with one of the GIFs. I'm going to go ahead. This is Ashley. She's one of our first grade teachers at one of my schools. And I want to show you something in here. If you don't want it to be this shape, if I double tap it, see how I get the cropping tool there? I want you to see that it's not just still shapes, but even animations that you find. You can go in and you can actually change it to be a different shape if that's something that you want it to be. Okay? All right. So I wanted you guys to take a look at that. All right, so now let's talk about that Giphy Chrome extension. Honestly, if you do not have it loaded, I have a link for you directly right here that's going to take you out to it. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate some things about the Giphy Chrome extension. So I already have mine loaded. It's up here. When you tap on it, this, quite honestly, is the easiest way if you don't want to make an animated GIF, but you want to add some animated GIFs into documents and into different things. This is like your go-to. Now, when I say this, I'm saying it's your go-to. It is not something that is appropriate to have students have access to this because there's also very inappropriate Giphy animations as well. But for teachers, this is a great way to ramp up engagement. Okay, so I could search in here. I'll put in teacher, and it's going to give me different options. I wanted you to see sticker. Okay, so I've got all of these different options. So you've got a regular GIF and you've also got a sticker. So what I'm going to demonstrate for you is that one of the nice parts is that I can actually hold on to the animation and just drag it over, and then it's going to add it. Now, one of the best things about when you add something from Giphy is not only does it give you the image, but it also gives you the source at the same time. Now, if you don't want this to be in the way, if you'll notice down here at the bottom on my slide, what I went ahead and did was I put the attribution down at the bottom so that way it's not completely in the way. You always want to attribute to make sure that you're giving credit for where you're getting your sources. Okay, so the Giphy Chrome extension is an amazing one. With that, I want to show you another Chrome extension that I honestly, like, I kind of knew about it, but I hadn't really played around with it very much. I'm losing my voice here. I was part of a demo slam last week with Kyle Klein and Delphi Schools, and Kurt Schleibaum actually mentioned this Chrome extension in his little demo slam, and it was awesome. So I wanted to make sure that I added it into this presentation. So it's the GifIt Chrome extension. So this one is really cool. So what you do with this, when you load it, I will go out to YouTube and whoops. Let me go out to YouTube and I'll pull up a video real quick. Of course, my kids have subscribed to some things, so we'll just go ahead and use one of Matt Miller's. Oh, no, that one's not live yet. Let me go out here. All right. All right, I'll go to one of my old ones. All right, so I'm going to go into where it says the Google Drawings. So I know I'm demonstrating this with one of my previous videos, but what I wanted you to know is that once you add the GifIt Chrome extension, which I have it over here to the side, once I add it, you'll notice on any YouTube video, and I mean any YouTube video that you pull up, you now have this button. So on this, you can basically make a GIF out of any little clip that is on YouTube. So if I tap it here, I can decide, you know, oh, I want it to start at 0 and I want it to end at, let's see here. Let's end at 15 seconds. And again, I'm just demonstrating this. So when I hit GifIt, it's going ahead and it's making my GIF right now. So it's generating those frames for me. And when it completes it, then it asks me about saving the GIF. So when I go through, then I can save that GIF while it's still generating. I'll go back to the presentation here. So I took one from Math Antics. So, and again, I tried to put a picture on here. I'm losing my voice again, where you guys can see the words GifIt. And then I took this from one of his videos. And what I like about that is, let's say if there is like a vocabulary term or in a snippet, especially like with math, if there's a concept that the kid needs to see, but they don't need to watch the entire video again, then you could actually just GIF it, get the little snippet, and then you can add that in there. So that way the student can see that. So I felt like that was a really cool option. Okay. So on here, it was done generating my GIF. So now it's saying, do you want to save it? Okay, so it saved the GIF of me. So once again, when I want to add it, I'm just going to come up to Insert, Image, Upload from Computer. And I'm going to go to Recent again. And there I am. And it looks like that I have an itch on my ear, but all right then. But again, I wanted you guys to see the process so that way you know how all of this works. So again, that's the GifIt Chrome extension. Another site that people have used is EasyGIF. So on this one, and I have a link that will take you directly out to it. On this one, they have a GIF maker. So then you can actually add your images and then it will turn it into a GIF. Now, I will tell you this, before I knew about Tall Tweets, before I knew about it, I used to use EasyGIF a lot. After I learned about Tall Tweets, I don't use this one as much because like I know that it has on here where you can add text and you can do different things. Well, all I kept telling myself was if I go into Google Slides, I can do all of those things inside of the slide deck and then I can create what I want. Also, I know that with EasyGIF, you do get that transparent background if you're wanting to do that. So if you still have a reason to use easygif.com, that would be it if you wanted to be transparent in the background. Those of you that joined Jen Hall and I when we did the There's a Bitmoji for that, that was how Jen had demonstrated that she created different versions of her Bitmoji where she wanted it to wave and so on. Okay, so you may want to check out that option. But I really want to make sure that I talk about this idea. I stumbled across this online. I was working on creating a hyperdoc that was going to go for our 4th grade that was working on rocks and minerals. And I was trying to find some different content to curate, and I stumbled across this guy's website. I had a direct link to it, but it says that he's having an issue with his hosting. So I just have it cited down here. It's Mr. Gruska's Earth Science Giftionary, and my mind was blown. So literally, this guy's website, every bit of vocab that they have to learn for earth science is all done in a GIF. So I'm assuming that the guy probably either used easygif.com or he may even use that GifIt extension. But basically, if you find a section of a section of a video clip and you want to layer in some text with that and have that as a quick clip, I absolutely love the Giftionary idea. You know, I could think of this being used for many different subject areas. So he literally has like the lesson that he wants the kids to learn. And then he has the GIF of the day, and then he has them apply it in some way. So I can't wait to see some of my own teachers explore that idea and thinking about how to use that. So I wanted to make sure that I definitely talked about the Giftionary idea that was there. And I even think it would be cool doing student created GIFs. So teaching a kid to use tall tweets is not going to take very long at all. But what if the kids actually are the ones that are created the animated GIFs that go with the vocabulary, and they're helping you build the content as you go? Because we all know that that's the highest level. It's not what you're doing, it's what can the student create. All right. I went ahead and I listed these two at the end because I wanted to remind people that with animated GIFs, you can also tap into whatever platform that you have on your smartphone. So a lot of people know about JibJab. Well, if you didn't know about GIFGab, it's from the same makers, but it's a way for you to be able to make your own animated GIFs. So what a lot of people say to me is, well, that's great, but I have it on my phone. How do I get it where it shows up on a slide or inside of a document or something like that? So what I do is I'll create it on the app, and then I can either open up the document and save it directly into there. But some of you might actually understand the process easier if you just email yourself the file, and then you can actually download it to your computer from that email. So when all else fails, that's what I usually tell people to do, to either use that with the GifGab. This app is called Emoji Me. And I have it as part of my signature on my email. And I can't tell you how many people ask me about that. Okay. One thing with the Giphy Chrome extension, there's also the website Giphy. And I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, Jen Jones, who runs Hello Jen Jones. She just posted a couple of days ago that she created her own GIFs. And she now has them on Instagram. So if people want to use them on their stories. So I was texting her this morning and I said, I told her I was doing this presentation and I said, well, if someone wants to create that themselves, how would they do that? Now, she told me that she used the Procreate app and this is more advanced. So people that are wanting to like make their own GIFs from scratch. I will tell you it's easier if you have an iPad and you want to try to do it on Procreate with the layers. And then you have to make an account on Giphy. In fact, I'll even go out here. So when you go out to the Giphy website, you will actually see that not only can you just look for things, but you could create on Giphy, but you can also log in. So if you create an account, then you are someone that becomes an artist, and then people can actually search for yours on Giphy. So she was saying that that's what she did. She made an account with Giphy, and then she added her animations on there, waited for them to become verified, which she said, if you don't need them to be verified, the process is a lot faster if you're just wanting to use it for yourself in your own content. But if you want to use it in Instagram and other platforms, then get it verified through Giphy, and then you'll start to see it pop up on Instagram, which I thought was really, really cool. Okay. My hope is that this has helped you guys come up with different ideas of how you guys can use animated GIFs. I see several people that are in the chat today, which is awesome. I just wanted to make sure that we see them as, you know, that engagement tool. And again, try to think of ways that you could add to your instruction with animated GIFs. One thing that I am going to note, don't go into overload. I know a lot of the slides that I'm showing you today, I have several on one slide. That's not typical for me. I was just trying to show you different methods. What I try to do is have in one, maybe two, but I'm really picky about how I try to use GIFs because you don't want to do GIF overload. Another thing to think about, and I always make it whenever I make a document, what if there's somebody that says, I'm not into that, you know, like I don't want the GIFs, like I love the lesson that you created, but that's not for me. Or you make a slide deck and then you're pushing that out to kids, and there could be some kids in your class that don't react well with a GIF. When I've been in a classroom and I'm doing model lessons, I will walk around, and if I see a student that's like, you know, I'm really not crazy about this, I'll show them how to delete it. You know, you have to decide, like, are you putting the GIF on there? And is it something like, think about the GIF that had the word said, that has a purpose. If it's just straight up decorative and the kid could remove it because they don't need it on there, then just show them how they can do that. Another thing that you want to think about too is making sure that you add alternate text, because someone who has special needs, you know, they may not be able to interpret what that is. And so when certain programs are trying to read the screen and so on, you can actually check mark that it is a decorative image. So that way they know that it's not something that is as important. And again, it's not that I'm trying to say don't use animated GIFs. I love using animated GIFs, but try to think about how is it going to make your lesson more engaging and how is it going to add to the lesson. All right. That will wrap things up. If you guys have questions, feel free to go ahead and let me know if you do. I see several people that are from my district that are in here, which is awesome. And I also see some other friends. Reach out to me if you guys have any questions. I'd love to see what you create with your animated GIFs. All right. I'll be back on at 11 with Marcus Painter, and he's going to be talking about ways to ramp up Google Forms. All right. Thanks so much, everybody.